Otherwise, we have to keep your cell phone, and you probably don't want us to do that. I would then ask for a motion from the board. Once a motion has been made and seconded, discussion will be closed to the floor. Following board discussion, a vote will be taken. During voting, board members who do not cast objecting votes are considered to have voted in support of the motion. Any person aggrieved by any decision of the Board of Adjustment may, within 15 days, file an appeal to the Board of County Commissioners through the Planning and Development Division of the Development Services Department. Okay, we're ready for our first item.
Yes, sir. Our first item on the agenda has been withdrawn by the applicant. It was continued from last month, and they have decided to work within the setbacks, and they've withdrawn the request.
Okay. We're ready for the second item.
Our second item is located at, this is Kathy Hamill Development Services. The second item is 987 Glen Lane. It is a request for a side street, which is on the north side, setback variance from 25 feet to 11 feet for a privacy fence in the R1 Single Family Dwelling District. The applicants currently have a home on a corner lot in the Hunt-Leah Woods subdivision, and as such, corner lots have 2 front yards, and they are asking a setback from the side street setback. So not the front of the house in which it's addressed, but from the side street that faces the road right-of-way. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. They have received 3 letters of support from adjacent neighbors. The privacy fence does encroach 5 feet into a utility easement along the rear of the property line, and at building permitting will be required to meet the criteria for placement with an estoppel letter. The privacy fence is 11 feet from the sidewalk and 24 feet from the edge of pavement. There is a open code enforcement violation for the subject fence as it was constructed without a permit. This concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the
Mr.
applicant
Chair,
present?
sorry,
Oh, yes.
you went very quick on that, so give me a
I'm
chance.
sorry.
I have a question about the code enforcement violation.
Yes.
So whatever the disposition is that we look at tonight after this, what happens with the code enforcement violation?
If, let's say, the board denies the request, then code enforcement will then, right now it is probably a warning, and a remedy to it was to receive a variance from the Board of Adjustment. We work very closely with code enforcement. They follow up with us on what was the outcome of the meeting. Then they will proceed forward with code enforcement procedures. If not, then we let them know that they did receive a variance, and that they, if they're not already in with a building permit, that they will be in with the building permit that is consistent with the variance that has been granted.
Okay, and I guess my follow-up question is, if denial or approval at this point, I know that, under your staff recommendations, there, item 2 is any conditional. I guess my question is, can we add a condition as this board that a permit be after the fact received for the fence itself?
They have to, it's required by code that they have to receive a permit for the fence.
Okay.
But you can certainly put that on there. I mean, it will be done per our code regulations. We require a building permit. And a lot of them come through us through the building permit process. It sounds like to me this one came through us through a code violation. But what happens is somebody comes in to do a building permit for a fence and comes up to our office, and we're like, it doesn't meet the setback requirements. The permit stops, and then they have to go through this process. I believe probably the next applicant is in that situation.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add to what staff told us? If so, I need you to come to the front. Right here.
Keep on going, go around.
The little podium squeezed between the plexiglass.
The fishbowl.
And
Went to
if you state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Carmelo Fodi, and I reside at 987 Glen Lane. So we moved in November, and one of the first things was increasing our backyard size. So unbeknownst to us, ignorance, we did add that setback with the fence. And then she is correct that we found out, we got the code violation, we went to the building department to get the permit for it, and that's when we found out that we would need to apply for the variance. And so I took the steps immediately to do that variance. And so kind of here we are. My application does kind of go into all the details why we want the setback. Not only is it for more backyard size space, but I mean, essentially there's a lot of things that are in the application. I don't know if you want me to go into all those details. Just as far as like we have dogs, we're planning on having kids soon. Does it hinder visibility when you're turning right onto that street? Because we do have that sidewalk and a little bit of grass there. So yeah, there's not a lot of cons in neighbor perspective, and I would say safety of the public to decreasing the setback.
Okay.
That's all.
And how far off the sidewalk is the fence?
How far off the sidewalk is 11 feet. But there's more, it's in there, I can't read it off here, but
It's 22 feet from the road, I believe.
yeah, from the road, exactly.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Yes, sir.
Can you share with me, because I couldn't see it from the photos, which, if any, of your neighbors have a similar fence, of your adjacent neighbors?
It's in the application.
It's in green, the lots that are highlighted in green.
So all three lots in green have similar fences?
No,
No, they
that's-
have approval, I
No,
apologize.
I'm sorry if I wasn't clear on my question, is which of your neighbors have, if any, have a similar type of fence as you're requesting?
Do you have that in the application, the actual address? Because I have it in there. It's 986 Autumn Glen Lane. And do you remember the other house? And 2809.
Are those adjacent to you?
986 is right across the street, yes.
Okay, I mean, by adjacent, I mean next door.
Are
Next
these the
door,
ones
no.
right there?
Okay.
It should say 97.
So that's our house. That's across the street at 986. And that is another house in the neighborhood.
I got you.
It's a very small cul-de-sac.
Yeah, that's just my question. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair. You said you just bought the house in November, roughly?
Correct, November
Um,
20th.
Was the pool already there when you bought it?
Yes.
So was the fence already there when you,
There was a fence going straight to the 25 setback. Our house, the side of our house is the 25-foot setback. So it ended just right at the corner
so
of that
the
house.
location of the fence is new? It's not a replacement of an existing fence? There was an existing fence there, you just pushed it out and made it larger?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant?
I'm Shanna Fody, can I just add to that?
It-
The house, the fence that was already there was falling apart. It was a safety issue for our dogs trying to dig out. We only replaced a matter of 8 to 10 panels, so we were just, it was ignorance. We didn't know that we had to, file for a permit or anything. But at that point, the fence was dilapidated. It was not aesthetically pleasing, and it was a safety hazard as well.
Thank you. Okay, you may have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone? Oh, come on down.
Yeah, you can come and speak.
Come on down
And then go fill out
If
a
you'd fill it
form.
out and give it to her when you're finished. If you state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Richard Wales, 2820 Summerbrook Way. So I own the home directly across the street from the Fodys. And so like when I back out of my driveway, I see the fence that we're talking about. And honestly, it's in the whole neighborhood. In fact, you'll see many of us sent letters of support for this house. The home was in, I'm going to say, severe disrepair. They're talking about those fence panels on the side that I would see as I'm backing out or looking out from my front yard. The way that they added some fence panels to cover more of their house, so now myself, my wife, we're not looking into their bedrooms, we're not looking into their bathrooms, which were all visible with the fence that used to be there, where it was just up against the side of the house to the end of their property. So and I'd like to say, speaking for our neighborhood, there's a number of us that saw the additional fence as a benefit to us, that it covered up most of the house now, and it provided a much more aesthetically pleasing look into our neighborhood, where Huntley Woods were full of oak trees and wood homes, et cetera. So again, it was a benefit that we saw this new fence panel. I would just say that, speaking as a neighbor directly across the streets, probably seeing the biggest portion of the fence, it's actually a benefit, and we saw that as a beautification of the neighborhood as well, kind of committing to Seminole County's kind of direction of that rural neighborhood kind of feeling. But as a supportive member, thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
A motion
Second.
to approve, do we have a second? Okay, motion dies for lack of...
No, we had a second.
Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I have a second. I apologize.
Yeah, this
I'll
plexiglass-
put this right next to my mouth.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, so we have a second. I love this plexiglass. So, okay, any discussion? Yes, sir.
You know, I'm a broken record on this. I think the land development code is there for a reason. I don't see a reason to get past the, you know, the six-step criteria, and I just have always been opposed to continually pushing fences out, and I think it's a bad idea. If I'm alone in that, I'm alone in that, but I'm consistent in that.
Duly noted, sir. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of the request, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
The motion carries 3-1. Enjoy your fence. Good luck with permitting. All right, next item.
Next item, Kathy Hamill, Development Services. Item number 3 is a request at 1414 Swinton Court, is a request for a side street setback, north side, from 15 feet to 8 feet for a privacy fence in the plan development, which is known as Estuary at St. John subdivision. This subdivision was just platted in 2019 and started building construction in 2020. They are requesting to construct a 6-foot privacy fence that will be 7 feet within the required 15 feet side street setback. The proposed fence is 8 feet from the sidewalk and 12 feet from the edge of pavement. They have received a letter of approval from the Estuary at St. John's Homeowners Association. It does also encroach into a utility easement, and at building permit, they will be required to meet the criteria for the placement with an estoppel letter. There have been no prior variances for the subject property, and this will be the first fence variance in the subdivision. This concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair. My question is, on the graphic that we had that showed lot 50,
Yeah.
that 8-foot line, just for clarity, is the variance request only for the portion that's against Dunwick, and it doesn't apply to the open track D?
Correct. It's only along the public road right-of-way.
So the 8-foot extension line really is along the backside of 50?
Yeah,
along.
there's,
It really should just be that portion that's just along Dunwick.
Right, and what has to happen on the open track D is the reason why we're going forward and getting the entire one for the 8 feet is because there's not, it's still, the way our land development code reads and defines it, it's still defined as a side yard setback, but that could be defined as a special yard because the back of the lot doesn't abut a public road right-of-way as the front of it abuts a public road right-of-way, which makes it a side street setback.
Understood.
But yes, sir, you're absolutely correct in
If the
that.
applicant pulled the fence back to where track D and lot 50 meet, there would be no reason for a variance request.
If they would pull it all the way back, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Yes, sir.
Can we pull up the aerial photo? Is that a residence that's adjacent on the north?
No, it is a site that it was, they're constructing it, it was a previous home on the site, And since then, since this aerial was placed, the property has been entirely cleared. They came in, here it is now, they've come in for a rezone. So this is them under construction in 2020. So that aerial predates them getting final approval. So yes, there was a house on that, on this entire lot. It came in for rezoning approval, and they are replatted the entire parcel.
Okay, so is the upper left-hand corner what
Where the dot is.
fits in to the adjacent part that's not by the road? Okay, I think I got it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add to what staff said? If so, I need you to come forward. If you state your name and address for the record.
My name is Hunter Lindberg. I reside at 1414 Swinton Court. So we applied for the variance, after the fact. We did I guess an estimate with the fencing company. They applied for the building permit. They came back and they said that we needed a variance. So we've been working in conjunction with the planning. I noted in discussion that it was a utility easement that our fence would be encroaching on. Is that accurate? Because in our site survey, we don't note a utility easement. We just note tract D, which our property line is not, it butts to it, but where we're proposing the fence, it does not contain the utility easement, if I read that correct.
We have the utility easement going around the property, in which then you would have to get...
In which the setback is containing?
It's within the setback, and there's an estoppel letter that, what it basically states is that if they need to get into that, the fence would have to be removed. So it's an agreement that, and it would happen over on the other side also, is that, if there's some kind of emergency, they would have your authorization to get into your yard and remove the fence if they had to do any
Understood.
work.
Understood. So currently, as you can tell, where our proposed setback is, our lot that we have currently built on lot 49, from the street out, we have a 15-foot setback for our HOA, so it doesn't hinder traffic. We don't have any neighbors on this side to oppose our motion, but we feel that nothing that we have contained in our variance application hinders the aesthetics of our neighborhood or, traffic control or anything like that. Our proposed setback is more than 8 feet from our sidewalk. And that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, motion carries. Good luck. Okay, next item.
I was getting into the PowerPoint, sorry. Angie Califer, Planning and Development. Item number 4 is a request for a side street east setback variance from 50 feet to 37 feet for a pool screen enclosure in the A1 Agricultural District. Subject property is located in the Gabriella Acres subdivision. The replacement pool screen enclosure will be approximately 1,620 square feet and will encroach 13 feet into the required side street east setback. There have not been any prior variances for this subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Just so I'm clear, since it's an A1, it's a side street, so it's 50 foot as well?
Yes.
And the existing home already is inside the 50-foot setback? I can't really read the numbers, but it doesn't look like it's much more than the 37 that's been requested.
It's not much more. It's like 37 or 38 maybe.
Okay. I'm not trying to add difficulty, but, I just want to validate. So you said there's been no variances, so the home was built and approved already inside the setback?
Yes.
And the homes, this is, we do have this circumstance where the existing homes, due to a code in the zoning classification setback requirements, or they simply predated our code and establishment of setbacks, will have where they're not consistent. But anything new that they put in, they have to comply with the current setbacks.
No, and I appreciate, understood. I just was trying to validate whether, I hate to use the word, but grandfathered in. And if a previous code was already in place where this house was built within the setbacks, and then through zoning change, land development code change, the zoning requirements were changed, after this was done, I just want to validate that this was permitted the way it was correctly. It's not a violation at this point. Okay, thank you.
It was built in 65.
That explains.
No further questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you'd like to add to staff comments? If so, step on up. If you state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Sean Nguyen, and I'm at 4900 Gabriella Lane, Oviedo. And right now I live with my dad. My mom passed away like two years ago. And my house is already built, like he said, like 65, before the existence of the Brooksland on the side, on the side of my house. That's probably, we have the complicate with the measurement of, I don't know, I think like that. But we just want to replace the old one that we had before, and the hurricane fell out the tree on it, and we had to take it out and left it like for 10 years until now. And my dad is too old to clean up all the oak leaves and stuff. That's why he asked me to get a permit to make a screen room, a screen pool screen for him, so that he don't have to clean up the leaves and stuff. My neighborhood is pretty far. We don't have much of neighborhood because it's like 1 acre house. So on the Brooklyn, we don't have anybody live there. And, in front is Gabriella, and it's pretty far, like 1,000 feet. And on the side, we have like more than 500 feet away from neighborhood, and on the back like that too. So we have like in the middle of probably all around like pretty empty. Yeah, we just want to build it, rebuild it back, so it look pretty to our neighborhood. That's what we intend to.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions for the applicant? Hold on, sir. Make sure nobody has any questions. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, you can have a seat. Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Good luck, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next item.
Item number 5 is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 14 feet for an addition in the R1A Single Family Dwelling District located at 4355 Rocky Ridge Place. The subject property is located in the Woodbine subdivision. The proposed aluminum roof screen room addition will be 168 square feet and will encroach 16 feet into the required rear yard setback. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff?
Sure.
Yes.
As with the previous item that we, if I'm correct, the setbacks on this are 25 in the front and 30 in the rear?
Yes.
And in both cases, the existing building violates front and back setbacks?
Yes, it's legal non-conforming.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff?
Sir.
How's that happen?
Okay. Is the applicant present? Is there anything you'd like to add to staff comments, sir? If you state your name and address for record.
Sure. My name is Brian Dorian. I'm 103 Angeles Road, DeBerry. I'm the contractor that'll be building the room. It's a small room, 12 by 14, proposed on existing concrete that's there. There are letters from adjoining neighbors that have approved. It's on a slow cul-de-sac in a neighborhood that's very quiet, mostly retired residents, and these folks too are retired. The homeowner is disabled and he just wants to spend some time out back. The house actually sits within the 30-foot setback. It doesn't impede a view of a fountain or a lake, and the neighbors are amenable to having it done. And most importantly, we're building it on an existing permitted slab that was into the setback when it was permitted, and obviously codes have changed since then. So they just want to put up a small, inexpensive screen room on an existing concrete slab, and the house itself actually sits within the setback. So that's not possible. So the variance was applied for. That's all.
Okay. And it's going to be completely within the slab that's already there?
Yes, sir. We're not expanding it in any way. The footprint will not change. The pervious impervious area won't change because the existing concrete is present.
Okay. Any question for the applicant's representative? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
There you go, second.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I do have one question, just
Yes.
for business. You know, when we make a motion, sometimes on the report, staff has recommendations that for conditions. Do those automatically carry through, or when you make the motion,
You
would you?
mentioned that we want to approve it with the staff recommendations.
Okay, so as part of the motion, that we
Just to
should.
be clear, yes.
Okay, then obviously I would like to amend my motion to basically include staff's recommendations for conditions.
That's fine. You're fine with that as a second?
The recommendations are typically not in favor of a variance. Special exceptions, staff will make a recommendation and give conditions. So your motion was appropriate because there weren't any conditions to this.
I guess the question I would have is, you know, it's basically like condition one is usually, it's a variance that only applies to this addition, meaning that once we approve this or whatever, go forward with this, they can't go and add 2 more feet to it
That's
beyond that
correct.
because it only applies to what we're discussing as that
Yeah.
condition. Would that be a
Yes.
correct and fair statement?
Standard order.
Because we're approving what they've
Certain
applied for.
language.
Yes.
Now, if they decide later to tear that down and build in the same place and don't expand it, the variance runs for the life of the land.
Correct. And again, I'm not trying, I apologize if I'm, being redundant or, just showing my ignorance at this point, but I would just like to, validate the, your method of making a motion, so.
Yeah. If there are conditions, we pretty much assume that they're included with the motion, but it'd be better if you said it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the clarification.
My second's good.
Any discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies.
Okay, next item.
Next item, item number 6, is a special exception and is located at 2751 Tuskawilla Road. It is a request for an amendment to a special exception for a nursery school to add an additional classroom. The original special exception was approved by the Board of Adjustment on May 21st, 1984 for a nursery school for a maximum of 60 students. At this time, they are wanting to add a 400-square-foot classroom, and since it is more than 10% of the existing facilities, it requires an amendment to the existing special exception. There will be no increase in the number of students at this facility. A nursery school has been operating at this location for 37 years. The amendment to allow an additional 400 square feet without increasing the number of students would not be out of character of the area, and therefore staff does recommend approval based upon the following conditions: that the special exception granted applies only to the nursery school, which may include private kindergarten or voluntary pre-kindergarten as depicted on the special exception site plan. The layout of the proposed uses must be substantially consistent, which that is depicted on the special exception site plan. No building associated with the special exception may be increased more than 10% in size without having to go back to the Board of Adjustment. That the total enrollment will not exceed 60 students, and the hours of operation are between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. And they also finally must apply for a site plan to be approved by our Development Review Committee. And this concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you'd like to add to the staff presentation? If so, I need you to come to forward. You don't have to, it's up to you. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Nope.
Okay. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve with conditions based on staff's recommendation and findings,
Second.
which I agree with.
Motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. Okay, next thing will be the minutes.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve.
Unless you wanted to discuss, I'm sorry.
No,
Cut
I'm
you off.
good.
Here, I'll second it for discussion.
Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, tell me what I missed.
Long meeting. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, last item I believe we have for the good order is the elections, and I turn that over to the clerk.
Yes, Ashley Dobbins. I now open the floor for nominations for chair.
I nominate Bernard again. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Are there any other nominations?
I think Mr. Coover's been doing an excellent job as vice chair, if he will continue.
Well, you got to take care of chair first. Hold on.
Well, I think should any other nominee, oh, I meant for another position.
Hearing no other nominations, I close the floor for discussion. All in favor of this motion? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed?
Can he vote for himself?
It would be weird if I voted against myself.
The motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. All right, now we have nominations for vice chair.
I've changed my mind.
Good. That takes all the pressure off. I nominate Mr. Hadaway for vice chair.
Oh, no. You don't want it?
No, thanks. You don't want it?
I'm happy to serve, but you've been doing a great job. I mean.
There you go. No, you take it for a while.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Congratulations, Vice Chair.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Y'all have a good night.
So start working on.